Rev up your engines! Now here's something I have to talk about. With the price of gas getting astronomical, someplace it's over $5 a gallon now, Ukrainian war thing, it's gotten to a point of absurdity. Oh, they're worried that the oil will come down. There won't be enough oil. They're worried. So let's raise the price of it right now. Here's the facts. 3% of the crude oil imported in the United States, 3% comes from Russia. Heck, 61% of it comes from Canada. Our friends to the north, right? They're not changing anything, you know? 10% comes from Mexico and 6% comes from Saudi Arabia. So 3% comes from the Soviet Union. That is a spit in the bucket. And yet it's almost doubled the price of gasoline. It just shows the graft and corruption in these oil companies that they'll get away with whatever they can. Oh, there might be a shortage. Let's raise our prices now. And they're raising the prices immediately. This isn't oil that they paid more money for yet. Stuff they've already had and they've refined, right? Oh, yeah, well, we're going to make money on that. We don't care. Look at the profit we can make. It's only 3% of the crude oil we import in this country. It's just gotten to a point of absurdity that the capitalist setup that people can charge whatever they want, whenever they want. Oh, yes, we've got to worry about the war. It's only 3% of the oil that we import into the United States. 3% of the crude oil. How can it have such a great effect? Only because the oil companies see an excuse to charge more money. You want to know what's happening? Don't listen to the BS of the politicians and the reporters on media and their garbage. Follow the money instead. In this case, the oil companies are raking everyone over the coals because they use it as an excuse to do so. And no, they'll say it's national security, blah, blah, blah. No, it's just plain greed. Simple greed. Not telling, says Scotty, my son hasn't changed the engine oil in his '08 Honda Accord in close to 2 years due to low mileage. Is this okay? No, it's not. If you don't drive much, say you only drive even 800 miles a year, you still want to change your oil once a year because water builds up, carbon builds up if it's just sitting there. You still want to change it once a year. Now, if he really doesn't drive it much, let's say he drives it 800 miles a year, probably hasn't heard anything yet, but just as a practice, change it once a year. It's not that hard to do. Learn to do it yourself. It really isn't that hard to do, but you want to change it once a year. Even if you have that oil that people say, you're going to change it every 20,000 miles. I don't care. You still want to change it once a year. ABC Depends says, how do we find Toyotas made in Japan? Appreciate your information. Well, when you open the door, it says right on the thing where it's made. It'll either say made in Japan or it'll say manufactured by Toyota of America or Toyota North America. That means it wasn't made in Japan. If it's made in Japan, you open that door, it will say made in Japan in English on it. Unless it was a Japanese import, and then everything will be in Japanese, and then you'll know it came from Japan. And they are better made, I do have to say. I just checked that Toyota Corolla Cross the other week, and it was made in Japan. They still make a lot of cars in Japan. You got a choice. Look on that. And if it's made in Japan, it's a better made vehicle. Just like if you buy a German car, you want one that's made in Deutschland, not one that's made over here in Alabama where they don't do such a hot job. It really makes a difference. Relentless Enterprise, so Scotty, I've been trying to find that ATS cleaner. Too many sites with names. What's the name of the guy's location? All right. Bernie Thompson is the guy that is the half owner of the company. And it's Automotive Tests, ATS. It's in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And you Google that, you'll get to their website and you'll see they have the ATS. And that's the real stuff. So I found the guy, just read about his stuff, and I just found him on the internet, called him up. He sent me some of his stuff, and I thought, wow, this stuff really works good. Brandon Hunter says, Scotty, what dependable first-time vehicles would you recommend for my 16-year-old son? Look at nothing but Toyotas and Hondas. It doesn't matter how old they are. You road test them and they still run. Buy them. Now, realize, I had two sons. Both of them wrecked, destroyed the first car I bought each of them. So don't expect them to last long anyways. So what if you buy one that's got 200-something thousand miles? If it runs and still shifts good, odds are it's going to wreck the thing anyways. Don't spend too much money. The old Toyotas and Hondas can run a really long time. That's what I'd advise buying. But then again, you never poo-poo what you come across. Maybe there's an estate sale and there's some old guy that died and he had a Buick and it's 20 years old, but it's only got, 18,000 miles or something. It still would run okay. You could always do something like that if you can find one. Noah Longi says, Scotty, are throttle mods for vehicles good safe? I want to put an EVC pedal commander in my 2008 Camry, but I'm questioning if it's going to eventually damage the powertrain. Okay, you get a later model Toyota, they generally have economy setting, normal setting, speed driving, power setting. It's the same thing. Changes shift modes and stuff like that. I would personally not trust an aftermarket one. Most of those things are made in China anyways. Who knows if it's programmed right, what it's going to do? I would not mess with that. Now, you buy a Toyota, Honda, Ford, whatever, and it's got that system for the factory, go ahead. said, you want to get better gas mileage, put it on Econ. You want the best of both worlds, put it on normal. And if you want to accelerate more, put it on power. Those do work, but those were designed by engineers in the car. Tanner Walrus says, Scotty, I've been looking at getting the 1990 Toyota MR2 non-turbo. What are your thoughts on these? They were fun vehicles to drive. Now you're talking about 32-year-old vehicles. That's old. There's a lot of crap that'll break on any car when they're that old. But it's not turbo, so the engine should last longer. The turbo engines, all the ones I've seen, they've all blown up by now from people over-revving them. Wasn't a particularly powerful engine, so you put a turbo on them, more oomph, but they wear out faster, right? Rocket says, I have a leaking water pump and it won't seal, it leaks. I got an 07 Ridgeline. I got it checked out. A local shop put in a water pump kit from AutoZone. They said it's leaking and they can't get it to stop leaking. It wasn't leaking when I took it in. What can I do? You have moronic mechanics working on a vehicle, and the problem is, you got a V6 Honda engine. It's a pain getting to that water pump. They screwed up the job. Either get your money back from them and go someplace else, or tell them, hey, you didn't do the job right. When you change the water pump, you have to completely make the block of the engine clean, scrape it all off, razors, whatever, fine emery paper, and then you put sealer on where the gasket goes and bolt it on correctly. Obviously, either they screwed up the job or you said you bought the kit from AutoZone. It might be a cheap Chinese-made water pump that was made wrong. Either way, it's going to have to be replaced or taken apart if it's leaking. They just didn't do the job right or the part was wrong. You said you bought the kit from AutoZone. Well, here's the problem. So let's say the water pump is bad. You're going to have to pay the shop to do the job all over because you gave him the water pump. I told my customers, look, you can buy whatever you want. I'll put it on your car. But I only guarantee that I installed it right. If the part's no good, you'll have to pay me to take it apart and put it back together again. Most of them would say, okay, well, you buy it. Then I'd buy it. And if I got a wrong part, it was on me. I had to eat the labor. But I would generally buy quality parts. If you buy a cheap part, you find out it was made in China and it leaks, unfortunately, the onus is on you because you gave them the parts. And if the parts aren't any good, you can't blame them. Now, if they put it on correctly, you can't blame them. If it's leaking, you'll have to pay them to do the job over again. That's why, you want to be real leery. Mark Nagy says, what's a good place to buy a lawnmower battery for cheap? Okay, batteries are all expensive now. It's gone bananas. But lawnmowers don't need that much power. They are not that energy hoggish. So, if I were you, I would just go to Walmart. They're going to have the best prices of anybody and buy one that will fit into your lawnmower. You must have a riding lawnmower because, the push lawnmowers don't have batteries. They're just pull starts. Generally, Walmart is a good place to buy that, or Sam's. If you remember, Sam's is generally a good place to buy. They're all outrageously priced now. The price of lead went up, and then they just keep jacking everything up. But don't go to the auto parts stores because I was there the other day looking at one. Man, they wanted like $80 for a stupid lawnmower tractor battery, just a little baby one. You can get a better deal at Walmart or Sam's, really. Badran Barma says, Scotty, what do you think of Vin? Not much. They gave me a free subscription, and I looked up two cars. One was my Celica, and then it said, we'll get back with you. We have to research it. They never got back with me. And then I checked out a customer's car that I knew had been in a wreck. He told me he bought it as a wreck car, and it said that it had never been in a wreck. So I don't think much. Their database is garbage as far as I'm concerned. I checked out two cars, and it was crap on both of them. So I don't think much. And you read the fine print in the bottom, it'll say, this car was not in any accident according to the information that we have discovered. They don't say it hasn't been in an accident. They just said according to what we found out. And of course, they don't even look at the car. And I said, look, you can see this is rusted, this is rusted. There's overspray on the radiator. I mean, the car was wrecked and then painted, and the overspray got on the radiator. When they painted the car originally, there was no radiator in the car when they built it. So, and it said they hadn't been in a wreck. The guys that are doing it, they don't even look at the cars. They just go by records. Can't believe any of that garbage. Panda Thompson says, Scotty, are you Irish? Well, I have a Scottish name, Scotty, but I am like 90-something% Germanic according to the National Geographic chromosome job where I sent in the DNA and they did a test out of it. I'm like 7% Asian. Somebody on the Silk Road did something. But I'm a tiny bit English. But then again, the Anglo-Saxon and the Germanics, because my great-great-grandfather was Foster. So it was an English name there. So, but I'm mainly Germanic. Kilmer's a Germanic name. My mother's maiden name was Funk. Her grandfather's name was Mueller. You can't get much more German than that. And Kilmer is a German name too, so. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.